welcome to my studio and welcome to the first Drawing in the Now class. And what I want to do today is I want to take you through 4 different situations and to help you really understand how to use this program. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually demonstrate the very first activity. It has 3 versions, but I'm only going to focus on one of those because I'm trying to keep things very simple and very orderly. After that, after I have demonstrated it, then I am going to guide you through it. If anyone else shows up, I'll guide them through it also. And so I'm going to first demonstrate, and then I will guide you through it. Hi, Stephanie. And then I'm going to explain how to use this seemingly very, very simple thing to actually reduce stress, restore balance, and transform beliefs or inaccurate beliefs in your subconscious mind that are preventing you from meeting your goals. And the final thing is I'm going to tell you why it works. So that's the very last step, is the science behind it. So first it's my doing the demonstrating, then you experiencing it, then I showing you how to, we're going to do it first on paper with pencil or crayons, but how to then move it into your life so it is a very powerful tool for you. And like I said, the final one is to really explain the thing scientifically so that you have that whole array. Hopefully this will help you. I feel like if you have questions, we can either address them here if there's time. If not, I tell people to email them to me, and I will respond to them in the next class. So that's about it. So right now I'm going to start, and I have my paper and I have some crayons. You can use a pencil, you can use a pen, you can use anything you want. I prefer crayons because they, if you get too wild, and they break, you still can keep going. And it also, they have such a high wax content that when you drag it along the paper, you can feel there's a pull and you can feel the energy in your hand. So, now, if you're new to this and you want to be a little more comfortable, you can do 3 deep breaths before the activity and then drop into it, or you don't have to do that. So I'm not going to do the 3 deep breaths right now. I'm going to just talk to you, do the process very quickly and explain to you why I'm doing it, okay? So the first thing I do, as you can see, is I close my eyes. And now when you close your eyes, I want them to stay closed all the way through using both hands. And the reason is that our eyes, we're so used to looking at the world through our eyes that it can really stop the whole process. So the important thing here is, close your eyes. And then I take up my crayon and I allow it to scribble in any way it wants. Now, what I'm saying is we allow it. We're not making it. We're sensing, we're exploring. Does it feel better to do circles, or does it feel better to do straight lines? And when you do circles, is it clockwise or counterclockwise? Everything is held in patterns. So what we're trying to do is tap into the pattern that automatically activates your conscious mind, right? So when you get to first, you're going to do one on one side of your paper, explore the circles, and then you can explore the circles with your other hand. then when you are exploring straight lines, remember you have horizontal. You also have not just horizontal, but you have from the right to the left and the left to the right. And we have vertical, which you can go from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top. Now we also have diagonals. Once again, both ways. What's happening here is you are really looking for what is the line or the pattern that gives your system the most pleasure. What feels the best? That's really the phrase that I want going through your head as you're exploring this is what feels the best. Now you do it with your left hand, with your non-dominant hand first, and then you do it with your dominant hand. And then before you open your eyes, ask yourself, what was the pattern? Which hand helped you feel the greatest pleasure? And what was the pattern? And when you know that, just open your eyes, raise your hand, and I will go on talking. But so now, do you have any questions or shall we just jump into it? Okay, I'm going to jump into taking you. Thank you, Yen. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes. And you can either take 3 deep breaths or not. It's up to you. And then with your non-dominant hand, I want you to explore what movement feels the best. It might be a figure 8. It might be lots of dots. You know, it might be a really tiny little circle or maybe a really big circle. It might be clockwise, might be counterclockwise. When you're sure what that feels like, you know, if that, you know, what it feels like to do it with that hand, then try the other hand. Once again, your eyes still are closed. And so you want to do with your dominant hand now, the same process of what feels the best. Now we've covered the circles. Now let's go back to the non-dominant hand and try the straight lines. Each shaped line is going to affect your physiology in a different way. It's going to be subtle in the beginning, but once you know how to get there, it can be a very, very strong feeling. So explore both the circles and the lines. And when you feel done, before you open your eyes, ask yourself, which hand and which pattern gave you the most pleasure? And then you can just kind of put your hand up so I know that you're ready for me to talk, but stay in the process. Okay, so real quickly, I'll start with you, Stephanie. Which hand and which pattern gave you the most pleasure?
My non-dominant and doing counterclockwise circles.
Right. And you could feel the difference, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And with the lines, I wanted to go down to up, whereas coming from the top down didn't feel so good.
You like going from the bottom to the top, not the
Yeah,
top to the bottom. Okay, so think about that with your paper, is that, you know,
yeah.
I'm saying, you know, from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom, but your paper is really like this. So what you're talking about is you're more comfortable with stuff going out than
Oh, yeah,
coming in.
yeah,
Yeah, I was glad. So this is
yeah.
really important. Very, very, very important.
Mm.
And the reason I'm asking you to, you know, what gives you the greatest pleasure is that when you do this, you activate your conscious mind. And how you know you did that is that the minute the conscious mind is activated, your brain starts dumping oxytocin and dopamine into your system. Those are the love drugs. Those are the pleasures. So you will feel great pleasure when you get yourself into the conscious mind. It's only when we're in the subconscious mind or the reactive mind that all of the struggles and the disappointment, everything it's it's a storehouse for a lot of negativity and disempowerment. And so learning how to shift yourself from one to the other is really important, because it's only when you're in the conscious mind can you change your life. So one of the things I tell people is, if you really start playing with this and practicing it, at the end of the day, when you're brushing your teeth, give yourself a percentage. What percentage of the time were you in your conscious mind versus your subconscious? You're going to find out that the more time you spend in the conscious mind, the happier you are and the easier things go. It's because the subconscious mind is the shoulds. This is the shoulds. And the conscious mind is the coulds. So you could do this versus you should do this.
Mm.
And so learning how to be the person you were designed to be, which is the could, versus the person you were taught to be. Okay. So, Yin, did you want to share, or shall I just keep going? I think we're just going to keep going. Okay. So once you know that doing that pattern with that hand, then the next step is how can you move this from the paper and crayons to your life? And it's real simple, is that we learn it on paper with crayons because it's visual and there's a resistance and we can isolate things. But once your system knows how to do it, you can do the same thing with your finger on your hand or your leg or your arm. Just do the pattern and see how things will shift. So this is where, you're learning how is how to activate your conscious mind at will. And that's a very, very powerful place to be. Very, very powerful. And, when you're doing that, you can actually reduce stress, restore balance, and you've opened the door to be able to transform inaccurate beliefs that have been keeping you from being what you want to be. So, what I want to talk about right now is so I said, I demonstrated, I guided you. We talked about it's very simply how to move it into your daily life. And it's a slow process. It's not going to be something like you wake up tomorrow and it's all together. It's more, you just move with it, try with it, play with it, find your own way. And that's what, I really look forward to hearing is what is your way? So why does this work? I mean, it looks like a bunch of little nonsense. So the reason it works is the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work in an either or capacity, meaning that if you activate the conscious mind, you automatically suspend the subconscious mind and any tapes that are in there. They can't run because you've got the conscious mind activated. The two of them cannot be working simultaneously. It's an either or capacity. So when you're struggling and you're having a hard day, know which part of the mind you're stuck in, the subconscious. And do you like that? If you do, fine, stay there. If you don't, then attempt to move yourself, activate the conscious mind, knowing you're going to put a little cork in that part of the mind. It's just like, you don't have to hear it. It just disappears. It'll reappear. It's not like it's gone forever. Reappear if you stop being, in the conscious mind. But the more time you spend there, just like the more time we practice anything, the better you get at it, the faster you can function. And the the bigger the change. I mean, you really can feel it. And so to me, that's what's really important here. So, I think what I'd like to do is guide you through the activity one more time, since we have time, because it's such a small group. And so this time, what I want you to think about is that, especially when you're doing the straight lines. No, it's both straight lines and curved lines. That what you're doing in some ways is drawing from the ancient practice of Tai Chi. Now, if you've ever studied Tai Chi or you've watched somebody do Tai Chi, that every movement affects the body in a different way. And the arc, the way you move your hands, the way you move your body, all of that is designed to activate the conscious mind, to put you in, as Eckhart Tolle would say, put you in the now. The now is the conscious mind. The now is being here, being fully here. And when you are, that other nonsense doesn't belong to you. And to me, that was a great realization when I figured that out, was like, oh, I can actually shut off this nonsense between my ears. So when you are doing your circles or your lines, this time around, what I'd like to suggest is that you think about bringing your whole body into it. So it's not just your hands moving. And so I want you to just close your eyes, go into that space, and start exploring. And know that it might be a little different than last time, and it might be identical. It doesn't matter. We just have 2 practice times today. And the more you bring all of you into it, the more powerful it becomes. So was it different, Stephanie, this time?
Yeah, I like it. It helped me breathe deeper. I wasn't so fixed on one up or down or
Yeah,
which way round. It was much more figure eight-ish and
more
connected.
organic,
Mm.
more organic. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see that just doing these 2 times today, how much it can change. And so,
Mm.
I really recommend you try to, it doesn't have to be more than 10 or 15 minutes set aside
Mm.
each day, and do it, explore it, and be willing
Mm.
to, have the subtleties change, and, but pay attention to how your body wants to move. And that Garbamonte said that it's not the situation that's traumatic when we're young. If we have a difficult situation, it's not the situation that's traumatic. What's traumatic is what the child or the individual has to do inside of themselves in order to survive it. And then he said something I never thought I'd hear a medical doctor say, is that then he says, what I'm talking about is, in order to survive the situation, you had to split from your soul. And so this is a way to reconnect with it.
Mm.
It's slow, it's delicate. You'll make lots of observations, and have fun with it. But really, know that, you might start doing it and find yourself having tears or laughing and jumping. I mean, you have no idea what's going to get released.
Mm.
And so doing it a little bit every day is the system, your whole system gets used to this new kind of energy. It's called joy. And you
Yeah.
know, yeah, and it's called joy. And when we're in there, anybody we interface with gets a taste of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, this is a way to counterbalance all the negativity and just bizarreness that's happening in the world. Is
Sure.
Yeah. And so,
Mm,
maybe you're spreading it to the checker at the store, or maybe you're, spreading, you never know. But if you're
mm,
in a state of joy, that energy moves through you. It's the universe. It's not you doing something. You're getting yourself in a place that you are a perfect conduit for the universe and for what that person needs at that moment. You know, those moments where all of a sudden something comes out of your mouth that you hadn't anticipated saying?
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a moment like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, but you're preparing the vessel so it can
Mm,
come through. And that's
mm.
where we get to share magic. So, Ian, did you want to share anything? Do you feel done? Do
Um,
you,
so I found that like I just tended and preferred like the circles.
uh-huh. You did or did not prefer the
I
circles?
did.
Okay. Clockwise or counterclockwise?
But, well, it was mostly counterclockwise.
That's perfect. There isn't any right or wrong. What you're trying to do is identify how your system wired itself so that you could survive any hardship. And now you're going to be reconnecting it. So it doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't matter if it's your dominant hand or your non-dominant hand. You're only needing to learn the pattern that's important for you and your soul. And, yeah. And so it doesn't really matter. And when we talk about really just, taking this into life, is I'm going to show you something here. Is that, um, I don't do it very much anymore, but I used to travel and teach lots of conferences and stuff like that. And when people would watch me talk, my hands were always moving, but they were moving purposely. And because I found that when my hands were going horizontal, it was a completely different feeling than when my hands were going vertical. Top to the bottom was different than bottom to the top. Horizontal, left to the right, right to the left was different. You're finding your own Tai Chi here. I'm
Oh,
taking that kind of creative leap here, but it's that you're finding Tai Chi is about restoring balance. Well, you don't have to study it for 10 years and perfect the form. You just need to find your form and then use it. Know that you can be talking with somebody and they could be, it could not be a great situation or maybe a but if you find yourself needing to do circles, there's a lot of ways to disguise that. They don't have to know what you're doing. It's not their business. But you need to know what you're doing. And you only know what you're doing is if you can feel the change. So until we meet again, practice every day if you can, even if it's just 5 minutes. Know that 5 minutes sitting in the car in a parking lot before you go into the store or after you come out of the store is a perfect time. You don't have to light candles and incense and all that kind of stuff. It's like use it where you need it and pay attention to, what these different movements We're talking lines, but it's actually a movement and how they affect us. And, you know, how you want them to help you change your life. If you have any questions between now and the next class, email your question to me. And give me don't do it like 5 minutes before class, please. But if you can do it, at least the day before class, then I can find a way to integrate that answer into the class structure. And then everybody benefits by your question. Okay? I'll see you in a couple of weeks.